1st, 2025. Roll call, please.
Holton, Dahlberg, Hood,
Here.
Schauer, here, Sent,
Here.
McDermott,
Here.
Ryan, here.
And please rise for the pledge of the flag.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In moving on to the consent agenda, and just one item of note regarding approving the consent agenda, since I just went through the Open Meetings Act training session, we do have to actually announce every single item on the consent agenda when we make the motion for approval. Anybody want to jump in?
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda 2.1, approval of the minutes from April 16th, Building and Grounds Committee, as well as the April 16th regular meeting, strategic meeting for May 6th, 2.2, concur with suspensions, 2.3, approval of bills by McDermott and Holton, for bills amounting to $200,724.87, impress $5,643.53, activity $25,015.52, payroll $241,447.68. 2.4, destruction of audio recordings prior to June 1st, 2022. 2.5, approval of the April 2025 Treasury Report. And 2.6, approval of the April 2025 Student Activity Report.
It's been moved by Dave and seconded by Angie to approve the consent agenda as read by Dave. Roll call, please.
Hood,
Aye.
Schauer, aye, Sent,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Ryan, aye.
And moving on to recognition of visitors and correspondence. I don't see any student council representative, unless Brady wants to jump in.
We do have one thing, Mr. Hager has one quick thing.
Read what it says again. I had to think of it. I made it, but I had to think about what it was a while ago. So every year, the Illinois Principal Association puts out an opportunity for us as administrators to recognize an individual or two within our building or district for just excellence in something they're doing. And so, in full disclosure, this one I wanted to take a moment. Sometimes I put some in and they've said, no, it isn't enough. And sometimes I have. Anyway, long story short, I want to take a moment to just recognize Mr. Grove Creevy for the non-certified support personnel leadership award. So, I mean, truly, he's probably one of the few people I know who takes vacation days and is here more than people who are normally here. And so I don't know if that's a good attribute or a bad attribute, but you can always count on him, and he goes above and beyond in every capacity. So just wanted to take a moment to publicly thank you for your efforts and dedication. So thanks a lot, Grove. Really appreciate it.
Really surprised by
You didn't know, huh?
that. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, well deserved.
Good work, Grover.
Was there anybody else that wanted to address the board this evening? All right, moving on then to staff reports, Mr. Harper.
First off, archery, we've heard all the archery stuff and how well the kids have shot and all those kind of things. And so obviously it's an incredible group of coaches and kids and all that jazz. It's awesome. But you know what I've been very dysfuncted is recognize some of our kind of like, you come into the gym here and you see the state champion things and you see some of those things. So I wanted to do that in a smaller atmosphere in that capacity. And so kind of where we have all the trophies and everything up, right near the main entrance, we've added that piece just as a recognition recognize that part and letting them, you know, shine a little bit in that capacity. So I just thought that was an important thing to do. Like I said, it's something I kind of just overlooked and not really thought about until this year. I was like, you know what, I need to take a moment and do that. So anyway, that's you'll see when you come to the elementary school sometimes. Anyway, good stuff on that. April was Autism Awareness Acceptance Month, and you know, Miss Dion, who runs our LEAP program, came to me and said, you know, it would be really good if we did something just building. So we took some time and put some things together. And anyway, kind of celebrated that all week, and just, you know, bring an extra smile to those kids. Just do an incredible job every single day. And then third one, during the month of April, our state and staff better focus on various character traits and embedding these are in young learners. And so I want to put an extra shout out to our fourth grade classes, who probably went a little bit above and beyond, and in a good way, but it was pretty awesome. They're like, okay, we need to do a service project. Great. So they were like, we're gonna clean down by the playground. So the playground kind of turned into like, well, we're gonna clean. Well, there's not much mess on the playground area, you know, even though everything goes down there, you know. So maybe we can get the ditch area. Anyway, long story short, how many garbage bags were down there? Just incredible amount. Yeah, they dug through. They were probably all covered in mud. I'm sure they were. I don't even remember exactly, but anyway, they went above and beyond. Just an awesome job. Now the downside is, then they asked me for the next 2 weeks, can we go down and clean again? No, you had your day. Stay out of there. But other than that, they've done an awesome job with that part. And then the teachers are like, oh, well, and then we talked about wanting to do like something to help the food pantry. So they talked with Lions Club guys about food pantry stuff. And they were told, you know, we have a lot of goods and those things, but we don't have like necessities, paper towels, toilet paper, all those kind of things. So fourth grade did an incredible job of running that piece as well. They had kind of bar graph going down by the office area of how many items each group brought in. Anyway, they turned it into a fun little competition. Most importantly, we brought in a ton of goods that was really meeting the actual need, not just like, oh, Wes Harris grabbing his old peas off the shelf and handing them out. Like, they really did a great job really targeting what the food pantry needed. So kudos to them for doing a really outstanding job on that end. And then Bunny Hop annual every year, April 16th. Always a great time, always an incredible turnout. We had a really nice day with good weather tomorrow too for Olympic Day. So kudos to those kids and everybody who ran. And then the last thing is, there's got to both the junior high and the elementary. Just a shout out to Kathy, who does a really great job every year on these. I think when we first came, they were black and white, weren't they, Kathy? And somehow she's got these bad boys for under $10 for everybody, bright colored and everything. Love the connection. So anyway, they turn out beautiful every year and super affordable. And anyway, they're really popular. So thanks for you for doing that part too. I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. All right, Mr. Sirianni, I don't know if there's anything.
Still down at the ball field we're hosting the regional baseball tournament tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, so we're still down at the ball field.
Is there anything offhand that you? Okay.
Can I sneak one more in?
Yeah.
So sorry. He's not
Take over
correcting his
for-
time, right?
take over.
Okay, beautiful. I forgot I threw this in here. So, so we also, and I think Kathy did a great job putting this out on the Facebook page, but Catherine Kelly, former superintendent, right? She do other things too? Former superintendent. She, she was big on the Library Foundation, all those things, and the building and all that stuff. And then she's like, really, I want to use my, my gift to help and whatnot. So she reached out early, like September, and she's been the volunteer extraordinaire. Like, this lady is here 3 days a week, 2 hours, just very religious, very consistent. We had this really great group of 4 kids that have worked. There's been a bunch of different ones, but that was kind of the last 4 that have worked with her. And made a really great connection. She just had a really powerful individual impact with these kids. And like I said, she's just doing it because she loves kids and wants to use her skill set. So kudos a moment and recognized her, got her a plaque, and recognized her just incredible dedication, spending an entire year with us, just out of the goodness of her heart. So just want to put a public shout out to her.
Thank you for sharing that. Just, I read through Darren's notes while you're speaking, and just want to recognize Peyton Lenhoff. She did make it to state for shot put and discus. So congratulations to her. And then I also wanted to reiterate that the commencement ceremony is May 30th at 7 p.m. currently at the football field. We could be there at 6:50. All right, moving on to Mr. Potts.
All right, thank you. First of all, from the maintenance department, I wanted to say congratulations to Grover.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
I was under the weather, so I did not put in a report this week. Thanks to those who reached out. I still don't know what was wrong with me, neither do the doctors, so we're just gonna play it year by year, day by day, getting back about 100%. One thing we do have, and TJ, I don't know if you're gonna talk about it, we do have our Gym 4 project going on. If anybody would like to stop in there after the meeting, I will give you a tour and show you reasons why we are doing what we're doing. It's visible, obviously visible in there why we have to do what we're doing in there. So, and then just to piggyback off what Wes says, many of you might remember here in the late winter, early spring, when we had the sparking transformer that burned down all the ditch down there at the round school. So what they picked up was probably 6, 7, 8 years worth of trash and junk and debris that was in that ditch. So very, very nice job for those guys to reach out and do that. So make our, just, it gives the kids a sense. They keep asking me, they keep asking Mr. Hire if they can keep down, go down and clean the ditch. It just gives the kids a purpose of community and community awareness, and pride factor too. So it's just kudos to those teachers.
From the transportation department, Jeff brought about a couple guys that have been very integral to the transportation department that we're going to see less of coming up here real soon. Mike Sharman, who's been in the district for a really long time. He will be retiring at the end of June, and Jerry Rust, who actually retired already, will be re-retiring. We hired him back as a retiree, not to exceed 599 hours a year, which I think he worked 599 hours every year as a retiree. His licensure is up in November, and so as of November, he will officially be retired. So obviously a couple of people that will be missed dramatically in the transportation department and the school district. From the district office, we're going to talk about the corridor security system and DRA grant that was written for that in just a minute. So that was the first thing. And then you just mentioned commencement ceremony, which, if you believe the 10-day forecast, it will be at the football field again, which will be great. But today I did go to the University of Dubuque, to the Heritage Center, and they are happy to be our plan B if things shouldn't work out because of the project in our gym. We didn't feel like the junior high gym would be able to accommodate the number of people, so the University of Dubuque is going to let us use the Heritage Center if the weather isn't going to cooperate. It's beautiful, and they had a list of every single detail. They are absolutely ready if we use their space, and it's pretty darn cheap for the space that you're getting. So really appreciate the University of Dubuque being Plan B. And I told them straight out, you're Plan B, and they said, yeah, we know that. That's fine. We're good with that. So it was nice.
Any questions for Mr. Potts?
Thanks, TJ.
You bet.
All right, moving on then to unfinished business, update on the corridor security system and DRA.
So, at our last meeting, Rick Haber came and made a presentation implementation to the Buildings and Grounds Committee on the corridor system, the safety system that we're looking into installing in this building. And that company wants to utilize us as a guinea pig as well. They're trying to get up and going, and they want other districts to be able to come and see, what the capacity of that program is, which is helpful because it gets them in this building and gets it for us for free in this building, which is tremendous. But we don't want to stop there. We want to utilize that system in the elementary school as well. We see the benefits of it in all of our buildings, so we'd love to use it down there as well. And we were discussing what we could write the DRA grant for, and so we decided to write it for the system at the elementary school. So we made a request to the DRA grant, to the DRA of $50,000 of the $80,000 project that would be at the elementary school. So hopefully that helps take a chunk out of what that would cost to do down there. Grover met with Rick Haber and Remy. Remy is from France, and so once you can get past, it's just fun to listen to him talk. He's a super intelligent guy, and he'll be back in a few weeks, and they're going to start the implementation of putting the materials and the structure in this building for the corridor systems. Anything you wanted to add?
No, it's going to be an ongoing process here for the next few weeks of how they get information from us and how they implement it. They have a digital map of the school. Everything is mapped out. Everything is really awesome as far as safety coming. But I'll be working with those guys for the next 2 or 3 weeks, get everything in place, and just so we can hit the ground running and get that.
So the DRA grant is just, that's a part of it, and hopefully that does work out. But, again, I go back to our first referendum conversation with the public. It was, best education we could possibly provide for students, and number 2 is safety and security of all. So this is the next step in safety and security. I hate to even bring it up, but we are 20 miles away from another tragedy that just happened. It's unfortunately very common, and we want to do everything we can to keep the kids safe. So we not only want to know that they're safe, but we want our staff members to know that they feel safe. And I think that in the fall, when they receive the training and understand how this program works, I'm confident that they're going to feel even more safe when they do the benefits. It's not even due yet, so it'll be later in the summer.
I think it needs to be said too that, with the referendum and the attempts that we made at the referendum to get the support, I feel like the board, under your direction, TJ, did a great job of addressing the needs of this district and taking care of things that needed to be done to make vast improvements. And security was a big measure, so just wanted to say thanks for that.
Yeah, no, it was pretty loud and clear from the community that safety and security was, if not, it wasn't the top priority, but it was certainly in the top 3 priorities, and I do think we've taken steps. Grover and I had a conversation with Chief Bassett last week or 2 weeks ago, and he assured us that the SRO officer will be back in place for next year. That was unfortunate, but the city couldn't do anything about being down staff. But we're excited to get that back in place as well for safety and security. But I do think, it's one of those things that I don't think with safety and security you can get complacent, and this is the next step. So I think it's a good thing, and even if we don't get the grant, I guess that's what I'm setting it up for, course, if we don't get the grant, we're still gonna push forward with the project.
Any other questions? Thank you, TJ. And any other old business that anybody wanted to discuss? If not, we'll move on to new business. 6.1 is informational, draft of amended budgets.
Okay, so you have in front of you a copy of the amended budget, and a reminder that this will not be finished until the end of next month. But I want you to take a look at a couple things, because at first blush, it could be a little bit scary, but a few reminders and a couple things are probably necessary to fully understand, exactly where we are and what this means. So if you go down to the third from the bottom row, it says total excess revenue and expenditures amended. And if you go all the way to the right, that total number shows $885,000, over what we expected to spend. Okay, does everyone see where I'm at there? So that looks like a little bit of a scary number if you just take that at first blush. And I agree that's not exactly where we want to be. But if we kind of go backwards from that number and look at different funds, we can kind of explain where that comes from. So the first piece that really ties into that or explains that is in Fund 60. It's the capital projects. If you remember last year, we had a little bit of carryover from the money that we bonded for the junior high gymnasium project. So that project, the final payments and all final project payments came due this year. So when we bonded for that, we bonded just north of $4 million, knowing that it was closer to a $5 million project. So the $500,000 or thereabouts that we spent on that, we knew that was going to be coming out of that capital projects budget. We knew that, so we spent the bonded money last fiscal year. So we knew that the things that were going to come out of our budget were going to come out this year, that was going to be a negative number. So that explains a majority of that number. There's a couple other pieces that contribute to that. The revenue from the corporate personal property tax over the last 2 years for our school district, and every school district, has been reduced by 55%. So 3 years ago, we were close to $600,000 of corporate personal property tax. This year, we're just north of $300,000. So $300,000 less revenue in the past 3 years, is a significant chunk to take out. So that's about $100,000 this year, less than what we got last year. If you look at the transportation fund, Fund 40, we still have a positive gain this year if you look at the very bottom. But what this doesn't show is that our transportation revenue is $133,000 less this year than it was last year. So while transportation is still a net positive because we didn't have big expenditures, we didn't buy a bus this year or anything like that, and we have a very healthy transportation fund, that would be probably $100,000 more than what it is, or $130,000 more than what it is, had our normal revenue, what we got last year, had come in. So that, again, I go back to that total revenue, that $800,000, that's, goes down significantly if the transportation revenue were the same. So between corporate personal property tax and transportation revenues, we're over $200,000 less in revenue than what we've been historically the last couple of years. So, thank the state or blame it on the state or however you want to do that. Those are two in the ed fund, which that's the one that we talk about the most, and that's where, I've told the board I like to put the most eggs in our basket, because that's where we do the majority of our spending from. That's where salaries and student materials, things like that, all come from. If you look at the amended budget, it's slightly less than what we expected it to be over, which is a good thing. We knew that this year was going to be a little bit more because of a couple situations going on. We have a residential student that we have to pay the bills for that residential student, and then we're reimbursed in the rears for that. That's an extremely expensive situation, and the cost is what it is. The reimbursement for that has gone from somewhere between 90 and 95% a few years ago to more like 70 to 75%. So, if the cost for that situation is $100,000, we're incurring a lot more cost for that than we would in the past. This year we had a situation where we had to hire a virtual speech teacher to meet all of the needs for the students with speech IEPs. That was a cost that we didn't foresee, and we also had to hire a teacher kind of midstream for special education that we didn't see. So, those are things that you don't necessarily plan for that come up, but there's situations that need to be addressed. And then there was one other situation that we didn't plan for. It's going to work out for us anyway, but it didn't work out the way that we wanted it to. Last summer, when we started building the storage facility attached to the new gym, it was about a $100,000 project, and we wrote maintenance grant from the ROE for that, which is a $50,000 match, so to pay for about half of that. Well, because the work started prior to the grant being written, the grant was approved, but then denied because the work had already started. So then we had to apply that grant to a different project. So we're applying it to the gym floor project, which was approved, but because that just started, we haven't received that grant yet. So we've paid for half of the gym floor project out of our funds, which we were planning on doing next fiscal year. We had to move that up to this year so that we could get $50,000 in grant. So we spent $100,000 on the storage, which was $50,000 more. We spent $120,000 on the gym floor, which we haven't gotten $50,000 for yet. So, those are costs that, one of them was a cost that we expected to have next year, and the other one was a cost that we expected to have after we paid this year. And we have that. So there's some money coming back to us. We'll actually get $50,000 this year yet, and then $50,000 next year from the maintenance grant as well. So hopefully that kind of explains why that number is. If you look at the very bottom right, the estimated fund balance at the end of the year is still close to $7 million, which is an extremely healthy fund balance for our schools. So feel good about that. We never liked the deficit spend, but we kind of do with insurance and things like that going up, the cost of things going up, which we'll talk about when we get to fees. We knew there was going to be some increase in costs, so that's what we're doing.
So I'm gonna throw you a curveball. It sounds like a lot of this stuff was unforeseen or whatever, but what did you learn from this budget compared for what's gonna happen next year?
Sure.
What did you take away?
Yeah. I think the big piece that Lisa and I talked about was the building project. We really felt like when that started, like that would be taken care of in fiscal 25 and really roll into this year. And the fact that it did was a little bit surprising.
Any other questions in regards to the amended budget?
As we make the budget for next year, will we assume that we will not get the ERA grant and make the budget? Or
Well, so we'll know before we do next year's budget in the fall, if we got the
And I'm just gonna throw out there, now that we have full board and everything, you know, feel free to use that finance committee to sit down and bounce things off if you're needing to. All right, any other questions on?
I will say to Christina's question though, when we do the budget, when we're figuring revenues, we figure like the preschool grant, the grants we do through EDBQ, but we don't figure like DRA or, we do figure the maintenance grant because that's been pretty consistent for us when we do project work. But again, that's through the state, that's through EDBQ. Like, we don't figure independent grants, we don't figure those as revenues because you can't.
do you know if some of the proposed changes to Medicaid will impact us financially next year?
Medicaid affects us every year.
But I mean, the cuts that you propose are bigger than we've seen before. Is that
Yeah.
something that we will have to think about for next year's budget?
So we should probably at some point have someone come and do a Medicaid session for the school board because there's a number of special education students that qualify for Medicaid and the school district does get reimbursed with Medicaid funds. But they have to qualify for in different areas. For instance, we can get reimbursed for transportation if we have paraprofessionals that have to ride a bus with a student, or for different things that happen in the school, if there's paraprofessional time to a student for certain activities and learning activities. But there's a whole system of data collection and accountability that we have to go through. So it's quite the process. And I know that when I worked for the Bowie Community School District, they had hired a person just to do the Medicaid piece because that person would pay for themselves over and over and over again by finding ways to qualify for Medicaid funds. Every year, it's harder and harder for us to qualify for Medicaid. We get less and less money, but we still get it, so we still put in for it. So to answer your question, I don't know how much of a cut it's going to be, but it's been a cut every year.
And it's a bit of a moving target because you have to submit based on your position. And it's like these 15-minute increments. And we supply, a lot of our paraprofessionals, many of the kids or situations they're working with, they get reimbursed for specific things during it. But what's weird about it is we submit all of these, and this isn't new to like, in your recent changes, this has been over historically over the last 20 years. It's kind of a moving target. Like sometimes you'll think, okay, this kid, because of his disability, this thing, we should get this percentage. We don't. Sometimes you get less. Sometimes you get more. It's kind of strange that way. So from a budgetary standpoint, it's kind of difficult. So I think from that standpoint, that's really where the question came from. And I think we just have to build in a window of percentage, knowing it's going to fluctuate in that capacity because it historically has. Where you get in trouble is when you just don't, you're not meticulous about making sure you're submitting those things, or parents are forgetting to do that, or those kind of things. But TJ's given our paraprofessionals extra time and perspective to be able to put that part. Under Sprinklemeyer, our special education coach, meets with them at the elementary school certainly and reviews that piece with them and helps us submit that part of it. So I feel like we've got a pretty good rigorous process to do.
And Northwest Special Education Co-op, they do have someone that maximizing this to the fullest of our capabilities so we get as much money back as we can. But it's like a lot of things, we're doing the same amount of work or more and seeing less revenue. So when we do the budget, when we figure, okay, what did we get in Medicaid last year? I know every year since I've been here, we're figuring less.
And I think to Christina's point, you know, when you look at the proposed tax budget that they're doing and everything, when you see $1 billion cut in Medicaid,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
So we're gonna feel it in some way, shape, or form, I'm sure.
you good, Christina? Any other questions?
I think I've done that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for walking through that. 6.2 is an informational item, a FOIA request from Michael A. Ayala, aka W, which was rescinded. Looks like,
I cannot, it was 114-page FOIA. It was extremely excessive, and so we did, you know, respond to the FOIA and say that this was creating an undue burden on the school district to try and come up with what it is that you're looking for. You know, please condense this and narrow it down. And it was rescinded, so we didn't even answer what he was looking for. But I'm not sure that after reading it, I even knew exactly what was being looked
Well,
for.
his reply was a three-page reply.
Yeah.
Even then, and
yeah, I mean, what you did is exactly what I just learned from FOIA training, you know, the voluminous request designation. So,
It was
you
something.
know, they have a responsibility to condense that. So, all right, thank you.
And I think I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think every district in our county received that, and everyone in our conference except for one district that I'm trying to remember who received that FOIA. How did you get one with? Okay.
6.3 is informational, looking to set a policy meeting for June 18th, 5 p.m., which I'm assuming is prior to our next month board meeting.
It is. I wanted to put it on there, make sure that it worked for those members, and if so, I will send an invite.
So you can just look at your schedules and let them know.
I got the okay. All good. Sunday night.
6.4 is an action item to approve the Midwest Medical Athletic Training Contract, which I think it's the same contract, it's just a matter of there's an increase in costs, which I think is acceptable.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Christina to approve the Midwest Medical Center contract. Roll call, please.
Shower. Aye. Sent.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan. Aye. Hood.
Aye. Moving on to 6.5 is an action item for authorization of transfer of funds for bond series GO 2022B, $34,475.00 from Fund 60 to Fund 30 for the interest payment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Angie to approve the transfer funds for the 2022B for $34,475. Roll call, please.
Sent.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan. Aye. Hood.
Aye.
Shower. Aye.
Moving on to 6.6 is the authorization of transfer of funds for bond series 2020 Phase 1 for $28,153.75 from Fund 60 to Fund 30 for interest payment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Angie to approve the transfer of funds for bond series 2020 for $28,153.75. Roll call, please.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan. Aye. Hood.
Aye.
Shower. Aye. Sent.
Aye.
And moving on to 6.7 6.7 is an action item to approve the 2025-2026 school fees.
I have a question on this. I see we're raising a few fees. Are we raising a few fees? Are those the ones that are in
One's in parentheses.
parentheticals?
One's in parentheses of the proposed increase, so we tried to keep everything within about $10. Tried not to go up, exorbitantly,
Sure.
but at the same time, cost of food, cost of material, to take classes and things, and you've seen, budget, like,
Yeah.
so we don't wanna cost people out of, free and appropriate public education, but, like welding classes cost a lot more than it did a few years ago. So I think in the past 7 years, we've increased the cost of lunch 3 times, and we've increased the cost of our technology fee, because of the going one-to-one a few years ago. And those are the only fees that we've increased over the past 7 years, so it's not something we want to do every year, it's not something we've done every year, and we certainly don't want to do it excessively, but, even consumer economics class, when the teacher goes and shops for materials for foods class, it's, we're going into deficit, all those line items, so.
So specifically more, I guess, TJ, on the tech fees as it pertains to the K through 4. Can you give me a little insight on what that includes?
Sure. Every kindergartner, first grader, and second grader uses kindergarten, first grade uses an iPad, second through fourth, they use Chromebooks. So every kid is one-to-one. They don't use them at the same rate or to the same extent as what the older kids do. None of them take them home, and there's a lot less wear and tear, so they last longer. So that's why we tried to keep the cost of those down. We're seeing a lot more wear and tear at the junior high level. So we do have a rotation, obviously, in 9th grade. Every kid that goes into high school in 9th grade gets a new Chromebook, and that's theirs for the time they're here, and then they take it with them when they graduate. So that's basically that fee covers most of the cost of their class, not fully, but most of it. We also have a rotation that kids get them in 5th grade, and they're basically using the same one in 5th and 6th grade, and then in 7th grade they get one later. So there's 2 cycles of students that use those in 5th and 6th, and then 7th and 8th. And we're considering, do we give them one in 5th grade and have them keep that through 8th grade, because we are seeing more wear and tear, more damage. We're having to collect more fees for loss, damage, screens replaced, things like that. So we are considering, we just basically make 5th through 8th grade middle school, and they keep the same one for those 4 years as well. So the good thing is, according to TC Networks, the cost for damage and that hasn't gone up, but certainly we're looking at, we made a big purchase this year for next year that we were planning on putting on next year's budget because of the increased cost of technology and the fear of what the cost of technology is going to do even over the next few months. So.
Thank you.
Well,
TJ, I have a question with the band and the chorus. Is it, you increased that, was it mostly like for tourist travel or?
yeah, and band instruments and replacement and fixing instruments and things like that. And the accompanist for chorus, the person that comes and plays like that. It's not an exorbitant cost, but it's not cheap either.
And we don't see a need to increase driver's ed?
We increased that, it was about 3 years ago. It used to be $75,
he's pretty good to us, well, cost of car, and that's the biggest cost for the program, so. I guess it's also one of those things where, again, we're not trying to cost people out of educating their kids.
Any other questions? If entertain a motion to approve the 2025-2026 school fees.
So moved. Go away.
All right, so Stephen made the initial motion,
Second.
second by Angie. Roll call, please.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hood.
Aye.
Scheller. Aye. Sen.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Moving on to 6.8 is the adoption of the district consolidated plan.
So this is our plan that we have to do each year that includes a few things, including our professional development plan, our mentoring program for new teachers, training, licensure, our plan for at-risk students, including special education students, ELL students, students that would be considered homeless, and then each school's plan that includes the assessments that they're gonna use. Part of it's the goals from the district strategic plan. It's all kind of incorporated into this consolidated plan for the state of Illinois. We just have to update it and then have it approved by the board each year.
Any questions? If not, I entertain a motion to adopt the district consolidated plan presented.
Motion to approve?
It's been moved by Christina,
I'll second.
seconded by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Alright, moving on to 6.9, another action item. Approve the intergovernmental agreement with Galena for the occupational therapist. So this is just the general contract that we have with Galena. I don't think anything's changed, still 50-50, based off of the salary that we offer. And Galena's, like I said, 50-50 split on that.
I'll make a motion. Second.
It's been moved by Angie, second by Christina to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Galena for occupational therapists. Roll call, please.
Hood.
Aye.
Scheller. Aye. Sen.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Moving on to 6.10, it is to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Galena for the physical therapists. And that is the same, similar 50-50 split as the occupational therapist.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dave, second by Christina. Roll call, please.
Scheller.
Aye.
Sen.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hood.
Aye. Moving on, 6.11 is approve the IHSA membership for 2025-2026 school year.
I'll make a motion. Aye. Second.
It's been moved by Angie, seconded by Christina to approve the IHSA membership for the 25-26 school year. Roll call, please.
Sen.
Aye.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hood.
Aye.
Scheller.
Aye.
And moving on to 6.12 is the approval of the Highland Community College dual credit courses agreement for 2025-2026 school year.
Is this agreement, it's not locking us into anything, right, other than we're just saying it's an official partnership
Yeah, it just
with the institution?
it allows us
Okay.
to be part of that if we like to.
Okay.
It doesn't force us to.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Angie to approve the Highland Community College dual credit courses agreement for 2025-2026 school year. Roll call, please.
McDermott.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hood.
Aye.
Scheller.
Aye.
Sen.
Aye.
All right, and we are are going to table 6:13, 6:14, and 6:15 until after our closed session. I think we can move on to, unless there's any other new business anybody wanted to discuss. If not, we'll move on to personnel.
No, we can do those. I'll make a motion to approve the personnel as stated on the agenda for the May 21st, 2025 monthly meeting of the Board of Education.
It's been moved by Dave, second by Christina to approve personnel as stated on the agenda. Roll call, please.
Ryan,
Aye.
Hood,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Said,
Aye.
McDermott.
And I would like to welcome Lindsay Fernandez and thank Mike Shireman and Dee Pettigrew for their time with the district, and also congratulate Sophie Hafel on her upcoming arrival of the baby. So, all right, so we will be going into closed session for the for 5 ILCS 120/2C1. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Been moved by Dave, second by Angie to go into closed session for 5 ILCS 120/2C1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
balloon things going.
Okay. Yep. Okay, we'll find out right now. What's up? Yep. Okay.
I entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So,
It's been moved by Dave, second by Angie, come out of closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Anything to come out of closed session? All right, so we will go back then to our new business item 6.13, which is to approve directors 25-26 salary increases.
I will make a motion to approve directors Grover Creedy and Jeff Whiter, 25-26 salary increases.
Second?
Been moved by Dave, second by Christina. Roll call, please.
Foot,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Sent,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
And moving on to 6.14, approve administrators 25-26 salary increases.
I will make a motion to approve the administrators, TJ Potts, Wes Heyer, Darren Sirianni, 25-26 salary increases.
Second.
It's been moved by Dave, second by Stephen, to approve the salaries for the administrators. Roll call, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Sent,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Foot.
Aye. And moving on to 6.15, we have approval of the overnight archery trip to Mass Championships, June 7th and 8th in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, motion
It's been moved by Christina,
to, second.
second by Angie, to approve the overnight archery trip. Roll call, please.
Sent,
Aye.
McDermott,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Foot,
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Alright. That's all that we have then for new business. Moving on to President's Prerogative. Just wanted to share, we did receive a letter from Tony McCombie, our state representative of the 89th District. And just wanted to congratulate us on being awarded the Illinois School District Library Grant. So I think we had heard reference maybe to this previously, but just want to let you know that we did receive a nice letter. That's all I have. Well, actually, there was one other thing, so.
I have one thing for you.
Sure.
I don't think it happened earlier when I was missing, but I think we should give Braden a big thanks for the last 3 years of helping us with technology here. Sorry if that's what you were gonna say next.
Well, you know what? That's exact, no. Do you like cupcakes, Braden? Because if you do, I'll get you a cupcake.
It depends on the flavor. I do like me a cupcake.
I had omitted from making this last month, and I just wanted to, I've been kind of acknowledging people that have passed away, and Miss Carol Wallman had passed away last month, and I forgot to recognize her. I can remember back in grade school when she was teaching, and I actually found a picture that she had drawn of me when I was younger. I was probably, I don't know, I guess 9 or 10 years old. And I still have that, I actually put it up on my work shelf, so just thought that was kind of a neat thing, so you guys make a difference, so thank you. That's all I have. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dave, second by Angie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, everyone.